Coming up on 5 Minute News. 3 children and 3 adults shot dead at school in Tennessee. Biden reiterates calls for gun safety laws after school shooting. And Netanyahu halts judicial overhaul after Israeli protests. It's Tuesday, March 28. I'm Anthony Davis. A 28-year-old fatally shot 3 children and 3 adults on Monday at a private Christian school she once attended in Tennessee's capital city before police killed her, authorities said. There was no immediate official word on a possible motive for the gun violence, which unfolded on a warm, sunny spring morning not long after classes had begun at the Covenant School, whose students consist mostly of elementary school-aged children. But the suspect had drawn detailed maps of the school, including entry points for the building, and left behind a manifesto and other writings that investigators were examining, said Police Chief John Drake. Drake identified the suspect as 28-year-old Audrey Elizabeth Hale, a resident of the Nashville area. The Metropolitan Nashville Police Department began receiving calls at 10:13 a.m. of a shooter at the school, and arriving officers reported hearing gunfire coming from the building's second floor. 2 officers from a 5-member team shot the assailant in a lobby area, and she was pronounced dead by 10:27 a.m. The attacker gained entry to the school by firing through one of the doors, the chief said. 3 students were pronounced dead after arriving at Monroe Carell Jr. Children's Hospital at Vanderbilt with gunshot wounds. 3 adult staff members were killed by the shooter, police said. The victims were later identified as Evelyn Dakehouse, Hallie Scruggs, and William Kinney, all aged 9, along with Cynthia Peake, Catherine Kuntz, and Mike Hill, all in their 60s. At the state level, Tennessee in 2021 did away with its permit requirement for carrying a concealed handgun and now allows anyone aged 21 and older to carry a firearm, either openly or concealed without a permit, as long as they are legally allowed to purchase the weapon. Tennessee Senator Marsha Blackburn tweeted, "Chuck and I are heartbroken to hear about the shooting at the Covenant School in Nashville." Blackburn has received $1.3 million in donations from the National Rifle Association and opposes all gun safety legislation. The White House led reactions to the massacre with a call for tightening gun control in the U.S. and called the shooting heartbreaking, a family's worst nightmare, and called on Congress to pass an assault weapons ban, saying, "We need to do more to protect our schools." Earlier this month, Biden announced a new slate of executive actions aimed at reducing gun violence and the proliferation of guns sold to prohibited people. The measures were aimed at stiffening background checks, promoting more secure firearms storage, and ensuring law enforcement agencies get more out of a bipartisan gun control law enacted last summer. But his actions did not change government policy. Instead, directed federal agencies to ensure compliance with existing laws and procedures. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre called the Nashville school shooting devastating, heartbreaking, and unacceptable. How many more children have to be murdered before Republicans in Congress will step up and act to pass the assault weapons ban, to close loopholes in our background check system, or to require the safe storage of guns, she said. There have been 89 school shootings in the U.S. so far in 2023, according to the K-12 school shooting database. Last year saw 303 such incidents, the highest of any year in the database, which goes back to 1970. School shootings on this scale do not take place in any country outside of the United States of America. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu paused his signature plan to overhaul Israel's judiciary after a day of nationwide turmoil when workers joined a general strike against the proposal and hundreds of thousands of protesters took to the streets. The plans by his nationalist religious coalition to hand control over judicial appointments to the executive while giving Parliament the power to overturn Supreme Court rulings has ignited one of the biggest internal crises in Israeli history. Announcing his decision late on Monday to suspend the plans until Parliament returns after the break for the Passover holiday and Independence Day next month, Netanyahu said the crisis required all sides to act responsibly. Israeli society is on a dangerous collision course. We are in the midst of a crisis that is endangering the basic unity between us, he said in a primetime television address. As he made the address, huge crowds had gathered in Jerusalem and Tel Aviv, including a large counter-demonstration by right-wing supporters of the overhaul. Their presence prompted fears of possible violence between the two sides, but the evening passed with no reports of major incidents. Netanyahu, currently on trial on corruption charges, which he denies, had previously promised the overhaul would not pose a threat to individual rights, but has given no sign of giving way on any of its essentials. You can subscribe to the 5-Minute News Patreon for bonus videos, commentary, and more. Go to patreon.com/5minutenews.